my all-time favorite reactive load by RedSeven, the Amp Central, has evolved. And in today's video, we're going to check out its successor, the Amp Central EVO. Now, they've updated the Amp Central with some exciting new features. And if you know this channel, you know that I've used the old one for over 3 years in countless videos. So I'm pretty excited to take a look at this awesome new version. And let's start right away by taking a listen to how it sounds. And of course, we're going to do that with my RedSeven Amplification Leviathan amplifier. Take a listen. All right, that sounded great. And it sounds just as great as the old one, because in terms of the impedance curve, the sound and response of the Amp Central, they didn't really change that because they felt, and I agree with that the original one already sounded amazing. But they did update the unit in a bunch of other ways, which we will get into. So for that clip, you heard my Schecter E1 Apocalypse Red Rain through the RedSeven Leviathan on the red channel, straight into the Amp Central EVO, in which I loaded up an ML SoundLab IR from the Mega oversized pack. I used the Almighty IR. I also used the built-in noise gate, which is a new feature. And that signal was sent into the DAW, and that's what you heard. I did apply a little high-pass filter to clear out some low-end rumble, which is a standard practice for inside a full band mix. Yeah, and it sounded great, just as the old one, and of course there's a reason why I used it for so many of my videos. It just works really well with such a wide variety of amplifiers. The response is there, the sound is there. It just reacts like a real speaker would, basically, which is what you use this thing for. It replaces a real live speaker so that you can record silently or direct. So no more disturbing the neighbors or your sleeping children and stuff like that. Now, what is new? Well, of course, they updated the look of the unit. It looks cooler now. It's a little bit more compact. It has these nice rubber feet under there. And yeah, I just love the updated look in general. It looks a little bit more professional. Yeah, and it's a cool looking unit. And the control layout has also changed a little bit, but we'll get into that later. Now, the IR quality has been improved a little bit because you can load your own IRs onto this thing or use one of the preloaded 16 IRs that also sound excellent. And you can now use 2 IRs simultaneously and pan them left and right and stuff, and you can combine 2 different types of cabinets basically in one stereo or mono sound. And the unit also now accepts IR files of a 500 millisecond length at 48 kilohertz and 24-bit. And as I said, there's also a noise gate now. It's a digital noise gate, which is super handy for cleaning up noise from your tube amplifiers or your pedals. And the noise gate itself is based on the recently released RedSeven noise gate pedal. And I can tell you that's an awesome noise gate pedal. Another really cool feature are the new RedSeven Power Amp simulations that this thing has in it. And that means that you can also use the EVO with preamps and then add power amp simulation to make the sound more like a real full tube amplifier rig, basically. So it's not just a unit for using with your big tube amplifiers anymore, and that's great. You can also use the Amp Central EVO as an attenuator, and it can attenuate the signal to 50%, so that's a nice extra feature. And you can now also control the unit with the app on your phone or your computer. And that's really handy. You can use that to organize your IRs, to tweak the settings of the noise gate, to tweak the settings of the virtual power amp, to store presets and all that good stuff. And I must say that it connects really well to my phone. No hiccups, no issues there, so that's great. Now, one thing to note about the noise gate is that you can set it globally or per presets, and you can store up to 16 presets on the device. And I must also mention that the Amp Central EVO is controllable via MIDI, so that's great for your live rigs. That means you can change presets on the fly as you go through a song or a set list. Now, of course, one of the exciting new features is the power amp simulation. And I must admit that I did not see that coming, but I love it. So on the back of the unit, there's a line in, and you can connect something like a preamp pedal or a distortion pedal or whatnot. Connect it into here, load up the power amp simulation, and again, that gives you the sound of a full-blown rig. And I love that, so we're going to try that out real quick. I'm going to grab my ESP LTD EC1000T CTM in Violet Shadow with the Fishman Fluence RZK set. And I'm also going to grab my Lichtlaerm Audio Gehenna distortion pedal, which is kind of like a preamp-ish pedal. It has a really full amp tone, but it doesn't have power amp simulation, obviously. So we're going to go through the power amp simulations that are on the unit, and I'm going to use the app on the phone to scroll through them. Let's take a listen. Cool, that sounded great. It definitely added some body and life to the pedal. That's wonderful. And you've got the different flavors there. Some of them worked better for this pedal than the others, but it's great to have some options in there. So I really like that new feature a lot. Now the control layout is very simple. On the front, we have this main knob over here, and that's your input level, just basically to control the overall level of the amplifier or pedal that you're plugging into the unit. We also have a pad switch over here and some LEDs to indicate how your level is and if you're clipping. And then over here we have the headphones volume, as well as the threshold control for the noise gate. The edit control over here allows you to switch presets and stuff like that. And then on the right side here, we also have the line out level. Now with the old unit, this used to be on the back, and I'm very glad that they put this on the front here because it's much easier to dial in that control, obviously, when it's on the front. And I do use the line out feature a lot myself because I like to use my load boxes as passive load boxes rather than using the built-in DSP. Don't get me wrong, the built-in DSP is great, but I just like to have a little bit more control over IRs and stuff, and I like to be able to change them after the fact. So that's why I do all that stuff in the DAW, and I used to do that with my old one as well. We also have the phones out jack, an aux in, and a USB jack on the side here, as well as the power button. On the back of the unit, we have the attenuator switch to choose between full power and half power. And we also, again, have a stereo effects loop, which is great. You can use that with amplifiers that have no effects loop, for example, to add some nice reverb and or delay after the amplifier or the preamp pedal. And then we also have the line out and the line in. Line out is just your passive out. You can also use this as a passive load box without having power connected. And that's quite handy, I must admit. And the line in can be used, again, for inserting your preamps or your distortion pedals. And then, of course, we also have the XLR and jack main outputs and the MIDI in and MIDI through jacks. And, of course, a jack for the power adapter. Now, there is a power adapter included, and that should work worldwide. And it comes with a bunch of different plugs. So that's great. So yeah, that's the new RedSeven Amplification Amp Central EVO. I really like it, and it's definitely going to replace my old one. I prefer the new features. I just like how it looks more, and it's just a very convenient unit for me, especially with the line out volume on the front, the power amp simulation, and all that good stuff. I think that controlling the unit through the app is very easy, very straightforward. The sound is there, of course, just as with the old one. It just sounds really good, as you heard in the demo. I think that the new RedSeven Amplification Amp Central EVO is awesome, and you're probably going to hear this thing used a lot on the channel, just as I used my old one because it just was so wonderful. And again, it worked with so many different types of amplifiers, and it just sounds good and responds very naturally to your playing and to the amplifiers. So I think that RedSeven did a great job with this new unit, and I recommend checking them out. For more information on the Amp Central EVO, definitely check out the RedSeven website. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. I'd love to know. Also, please hit the like and subscribe buttons, as that really helps the channel out. If you want to support the channel, you can buy something at my affiliate links at no additional cost. And of course, you can follow Sonic Drive Studio on Facebook and Instagram as well. Thank you guys so much for watching, and thanks to RedSeven for sponsoring this video. Cheers!